having pleasure. We will issue as well, after the final, of course, the viewing figures and the audience figures, but it has been, as you know, of course, an incredible success. We are approaching the 5 billion mark in terms of viewing figures. And let me again say a big thank you to all those who made this happen. We had almost 180,000 accreditations that were issued, also to all of you. We had more than 400,000 volunteers who applied to become volunteers. 20,000 were selected from 150 different countries. So it was very, very successful, but we touch wood. Do we have wood somewhere? Is this wood? Yep. That's wood, so we touch wood. 2 matches to go, so I say to everyone who is praising or receiving praises, well, focus until the end, and then we will, of course, hopefully confirm these feelings that we have now, which are more than feelings, obviously. When it comes to the Council meeting, coming back to that, we could confirm, of course, the revenues of this 4-year cycle, which was at 7.5 billion, so 1 billion more than what was budgeted 4 years ago. You know, we have these 4-year cycles. 1 billion more revenues in a period which was hit by a pandemic, by COVID. I think this is quite remarkable. So again, congratulations to all those who were making this happen. And looking forward ahead, the FIFA Council approved the budget for the next 4-year cycle, which will foresee a revenue of 11 billion. So the last 4-year cycle had a budget of 6.4. 6.44, I think. We made 7.5. The next cycle has a budget of 11 billion revenues, and almost 10 billion will go directly back, of course, to football. The Council also approved the talent development scheme under the leadership of Arsene Wenger to detect and develop talents all over the world. $200 million will be invested for this particular project. And we discussed as well, and it was endorsed by the Council unanimously, some strategic principles with regard to the international match calendars for women and men, and competitions for women and men. When it comes to the men, to start with, as you certainly remember, we had agreed a few years ago to have a new men's World Cup with 24 teams, who should have taken place in 2021. This event was postponed because of COVID. The new men's Club World Cup will therefore take place in 2025 and will feature 32 teams, the best teams in the world. Of course, the details, slot allocation and so on still need to be discussed, agreed and decided, but the 32-team tournament will go ahead, making it really like a World Cup, like this World Cup with 32 teams. When it comes to the international match calendar, the principle of having the 2 windows of September and October merged to have 4 matches instead of 2 in September and 2 in October, 4 matches end of September, beginning of October, and for the rest remaining the same. And again, what we have seen in this particular World Cup, the importance of having matches between national teams of different countries, of different continents, happening more regularly, more often. And the idea there, and the principle that was agreed, again, details to be elaborated, is to use the March windows, the 10 days in March, in the even years, so the World Cup years and the Copa America or Euro years, to organize friendly tournaments between 4 teams of 4 different confederations, so that they can gain, everyone can gain this experience in playing with each other under, of course, the umbrella of FIFA, so FIFA World Series type of events, to allow more matches between teams of different confederations. For women's football, very similar. The first decision was to extend the calendar until 25 to give us more time to study the new calendar, but also to create a new Women's Club World Cup, details again to be elaborated, and also a new FIFA Futsal Women's World Cup every 4 years as well, but with details to be elaborated. Also again, for your information, the decision on the hosts of the Men's World Cup 2030 and of the Women's World Cup 2027 will take place in 2024. The Women's World Cup 2031 will be decided in 2025, so we have the same 6-year preparation span as for the Men's World Cup, so we are running after in order to really align men and women competition and World Cups. What we would like as well is to see if the Women's Olympic Tournament can have 16 teams as the Men's Olympic Tournament, because today the men's has 16 and the women's has 12. We feel that women should have 16 teams as well, so we will of course engage in discussion and see what is possible. We also decided again, in the purpose of making football truly global, to increase the number of participating teams in the youth tournaments and making the under-17 tournaments for boys and for girls annual instead of having them every 2 years. This will start in 2024. Very important element, I don't want to forget that, is when it comes to the international match calendar, we have to take really into consideration the health and the well-being of players. Hence, as well, the 4 games window rather than 2 games window in September or October, to have 1 intercontinental travel less for the players. But more generally, we need to ensure that there is a rest period for players, a holiday period, that there are 72 hours at least between 2 games, ideally that there is 1 rest day every week. Of course, we need to be pragmatic on these topics, but as principles, and then we need to see how they can be enforced, because it's important that the players are at their best. So we'll now consult on all of these topics and then elaborate all the details, but the principles were approved and endorsed by the Council. We took then some other decisions. Morocco will host the Club World Cup, the 22 Club World Cup, which will take place from the 1st to the 11th of February 23. When it comes to beach soccer, World Cup in 23 will be hosted by the UAE, and in 25 by the Seychelles. We then approved a whole series of regulations. We approved, for example, the new FIFA football agents regulations, which is a very important step after a few years of consultation and discussion in order to bring more transparency, professionality in the transfer system. The players' agents regulations, or the agents, football agents regulations, are a crucial part. So this has been approved, including a mandatory licensing system, the prohibition of multiple representation in order to avoid conflicts of interest, and of course the introduction as well of a cap on the Commission. We approved also some amendments